with very little or no road restriction or roadblocks in its way. That's what I would consider quality of life, and it may be different for everybody. I mean, your quality of life might be the ability to play soccer at 10 o'clock at night with your friends, or pursue a job, or an entrepreneurship, or build a building, or just go out with friends. Whatever it is that makes your quality of life, as long as you're not impacting negatively somebody else while you're pursuing your goals and aspirations, that's your quality of life. And the degree to which you are happy with your quality of life is counted by the amount of problems you have accomplishing that. So I tell people, if you've gone through, now I just complained that nobody knew who I was, but when something goes wrong with the jail, the roads, the libraries, all that, who do they call? They call the county government. So that means when you're calling me, something's wrong. Either there's a pothole needs to be filled, you don't agree with my spending, you don't agree with the fact that we've allocated $1 million a year for nonprofits, you don't agree with the fact that I think that grass should only be cut 4 times a year, you don't agree with some of the decisions I make, you think I should be providing more services. You think everyone in Cobb County needs a Segway, and the government should provide it. I'll hear from you in those regards as well. So my point is that when I talk to people about the work I do in Cobb County, I like to do my work. I serve the citizens of Cobb County, but I hope I do it to such a level that I never hear from you. Because if I don't hear from you, I'm doing an excellent job. That means you're pursuing your quality of life with very few interruptions or restrictions or any kind of hurdles to get over that have been implemented by the local government. And you're satisfied with the level of service, so when you call 911, you're told that she knows how to pick up the phone and direct you to save the life of the person in front of you. Or you call the police and they're reasonable, the fire department and they're there. Or you go to parks and it's clean and you're not worried about safety issues. And a lot of that happens subliminally. So I realize my job as chairman is to run this company, this county, in the most effective, efficient way, providing the services that I'm responsible to do so, in a way that you enjoy it, pursuing your quality of life without getting mad at me. Now, we've had a rough time this past year. Home values, my budget, 55% of the budget that I talked about is based on home values. So if home values are $100, I get X number of dollars off of that. Let's say $10 for the sake of argument. If that goes down to a home is now worth $990, mine goes down and down and down. Well, if I've built an organization of services that you've come to expect and like, but I can no longer afford, I need to cut back, right? Clearly that's the American way. If revenue is X and spending is Y, and revenue goes down, Y's got to go down. If you want to do what? A balanced budget, which I'm required to do by law. So what I have to do under those circumstances, is I have to decide what I'm not going to spend money on. If my revenues go down, what am I not going to spend money on? Now we had, about 7 months ago, when the county's doing well, nobody pays attention. When we have to cut services, we try to figure out, well, what are we going to cut back on? Well, if you guys have been watching last year when I was trying to come up with a $32 million deficit, to try to get the community's attention, I threw out you guys heard of a trial balloon? I threw out a trial balloon. I'm going to close all the libraries but for 4. Thousands of people showed up. Do you think they cared about the parks? They didn't. They said cut anywhere but the library. Now if I'd gone out, and I was making a point, now if I'd gone out and said I gotta close all the parks, thousands of people show up, so cut anywhere but for the library. So to eliminate programs altogether is not necessarily your best answer. But in government, constitutionally, I'm required to do something, and that's to provide public safety. Now most of the things public safety is police and fire. But it isn't. We talked about it. Public safety begins the moment you pick up the phone and call 911. Public safety is that operator on the other side of the phone that assesses the situation and sends the right resources. Hello, there's a bomb. It's going to be a different response than, hello, my son just broke his arm. Okay? That person's got to be trained. Or there's a car accident. 2 people have lost their head, 4 don't have an arm, and 18 of them are bleeding because the bus is in the middle of it. That's going to get a certain response. Versus, there's been an automobile accident, one of the women in the accident, she's pregnant, she's groaning, she looks like she's about to give birth. What do? Or, I just walked up on this man, he's grasping his his chest, what do? And they talk you through it. Because what the 911 operators are doing are treating the patient, so he or she knows what resources to send. And they're talented people. We hire only people that have the ability to do 2 things at once. The ability to talk to you on the phone, to tell you how to save somebody's life. At the same time, while you're speaking to me, I'm listening to you, I'm telling the fire department what to send. And it takes a rare individual who can do that. And those are the people in 911. That's where public safety starts. So then you get either fire or police, and then you get the sheriff's department that takes care of the jail, and I talked about that, and they've got all the courts, the superior court, the state court, the magistrate, all those courts, they work through the different responsibilities, the DAs, the solicitor general, all the people that have to do that. Do you know that public safety, to include EMA, emergency management? So in other words, if there's let's say for instance, the train's going down here through Cobb, and it's full of chemicals, and it tips over, and we got a chlorine bloom, it's my job. I've become the most important guy in Cobb County. I go to my emergency management secret room where we got all the big TVs and all the things just like you see on TV, and we manage through that process. All that makes up 60% of my expenditures in any given year. So everything else I talked about, water, roads, parks, libraries, all that comes out of the balance. So when I have to cut, where do I cut? Do I cut the number of policemen around, or the fire department, or do I let go 191? Well, what we did with the Citizens Oversight Committee, we had them say, okay, of all the services that we provide for county, what is the priority? And you can see the priority for them: citizens, code enforcement, court systems, licensing, permit, public safety, roads, tax, water, and zoning. They felt that that was my #1 priority. The second being economic development, libraries, parks, public infrastructure, and youth sports. Third tier being adult sports, aquatics, cultural, indigent care, public health, senior centers, and social services. So in this Citizens Committee's mind, the least important services that the county provides are in this column. So their recommendation is if I need to cut, they want me to look at these programs first. And that came from an independent body. And then we have our improvement matrix. Well, I'm not going to go into this. My point is that when I had last year, I had a budget. I had to cut my budget by $27 million, and I did it. But I did it with one-time monies. You know what one-time monies are? Let's say you've set aside money to buy a new TV set, and you find out that because you're not making enough money this month, you need to use that money for rent. That's one-time money. Next month, that won't be available. So I did it with one-time money. I did furlough days, 5 furlough days, where every employee had to take 5 days off, mandatory with no pay, and I made operating cuts. But I eventually and I ended up having to raise the millage. But I believe we are in a point now where we're fiscally sound. And I did that because I went to the rating agencies in New York, and they gave us a rating. How many of you guys recall a couple months ago there was talk about the United States credit rating being downgraded? Well, it's important to have a high credit rating because you can borrow money. And remember, I told you I collect money in arrears. If you have a high credit rating, you can borrow money at less expensive. So we've saved millions of dollars over the last couple of years by having a AAA bad. That's basically AAA is the best rating you can get from the 3 rating agencies. So AAA, one of 27 counties in the country to still have that. So that's pretty phenomenal. So we are financially secure in Cobb County because of the planning, the monitoring, the studying, everything we do. So I'm going to hand these out to you now because I want to talk a little bit more about the county, and then I'm going to look forward. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, You with us? You okay?